I got a lot of questions from you all, and thank you for those questions because it helps me to know what you want from me. So, one of the questions that I got is that my child is going through a lot of assessments and assessments and assessments, and we don't know what to do with our child. So, typically, this is just my viewpoint. Everyone has a different viewpoint. Whenever a child comes to me in person to meet me, I do a direct evaluation where I work on the child. I check physically to understand which are the reflexes that are retained, the primitive reflexes which are retained. What are the sensory, what is the sensory profile of the child like? What are the areas? How's the postural system like? You know, how is the self-help skills like? How is the arousal level of the child like? When I'm talking to the child, how is he looking at me? Is he answering? Is he not answering? Are the parents prompting? Are the parents not prompting? So that is my observation that I'm doing with the child. That is one bit of it. Yeah. There's another bit where it's the parent who tells me, these are the concerns and this is what is the problem and this is what is happening or whatever. This is the parents feedback for me. So the parent feedback plus my observation or my evaluation of the child, both of them together give me an idea about what is it that I need to work on with my child. Sometimes a lot of people go into what are called as formal standardized testing. I do not do a lot of standardized testing with my kids because most of the kids who come to me have a diagnosis of autism, and I do not expect them to sit and comply and function. There is a sensory profile though, which the caregiver can fill and give, and that does help to some extent. But I do not only rely on a standardized assessment. I rely on what am I doing with my child? What are the parents' concerns? And if the parent meets me like after a month, then it's like these were the concerns that you shared. Where are you with those concerns? Has it got better? These were your concerns that you shared with me. What is the status of those now? What has changed? That helps me to know. And what are the improvements that has come in the last, say, 1 month or so? That helps me to know what to focus on and how to work upon. Usually, I do not evaluate on like every time a child comes to me, I do not evaluate. I evaluate. And again, that's how I do. Every therapist does it differently. When a child comes to me for the first time, and if they're coming to me on a regular basis, I evaluate them once in 6 months. The same pointers that I used for evaluate, I use the same pointers and I check, okay, this is where this. So if I take some example like the vestibular system, where was it earlier? Where is it now? If I take prone extension, which is a posture that we assume. So if this is where the child was, where is he? How long can he hold that? Babinski reflex, where is it? Moro reflex, where is it? Fear paralysis reflex, where is it? So those kinds of evaluations I do once in 6 months. I believe in what is called as ongoing evaluation. And when I say ongoing evaluation, I'll give you an example. So a child who came to me and so she just entered my setup. And as soon as she entered, she was all closed. She didn't want to come to me because the place was new. She didn't want to go to the swing, nothing. I just sat onto the corner. I didn't do anything. And I allowed her to do what she felt would help her to feel safe. I always also ensure that parents are in the session because presence of a parent who's known, who the child can relate to, helps in building safety. Unless and until the parents are asking too many questions to me while I'm observing, I usually gently tell them that, let me complete my evaluation and I would take all your questions by the end of the session. So usually parents comply. So this girl came into the session and she was all withdrawn and I gave her time. And as she got her time, gradually she started going towards the platform swing. She started swinging on her own. While she was doing that, I was evaluating how is she swinging? Is she putting her feet down? Is she not putting her feet down while she's swinging? What's happening to her face? Is she all straight, tall, or is she getting dull, collapsing? So these are what are called as ongoing evaluations that I do. Now, by the end of the session, she was all over the place. She was looking at me. She was giving me eye contact, which initially, when she came to me and parents said, say hi to auntie, and she was like this because I was a new person. The environment was new, it was overwhelming. These things that I'm sharing with you, that in a new environment, this child is uncomfortable. When she's standing, how is she standing? When she's standing, is her weight, how's the weight wearing? Does she have flat feet? Does she have arch in her feet? There's a lot of stuff that I'm evaluating as I'm working with a kid. So those are called as ongoing evaluations. Now, when I've worked with this child and this child is comfortable, by the end of the session, she is absolutely okay. And she comes to meet me again the second time. She's very different. She's going to be enjoying. She's going to be calling me non verbally, but she's calling me. She's asking me to play. Those are things that I notice and observe. And that observation helps me to decide what next do I plan for this child. So many of us have a different style of working. I do only once the evaluations, and then again after 6 months, and then again after 6 months. I do not only rely on standardized testing, especially when a child has a diagnosis of autism, because children, it gives me some idea, but it does not give me a complete idea. So, relating and listening to what parent is telling me, observing the child, and an ongoing assessment is what I do in my therapy sessions. If you go to a therapy center and if you find that it's only assessment going on and you're asked to wait out the first session, I would be very curious to know why is the therapist asking me to wait out. And I would try and advocate for my child very gently. The therapist may have a reason for sure, but I would advocate that my child is comfortable in my presence. I would love if activities are done in front of me. Also, I need to know what's happening with my child, because my child would come to your therapy center once a week, twice a week, 5 days a week, but it's just an hour max. If I see what you're doing with my child, I can do those activities at home. And I need to learn. And you are the person who I can learn from. You will model it for me. So I talk to the therapist. If the therapist still keeps insisting that you stay out, I think we all get what are called as, we have a gut feel when we go to a place, whether this is the place for me or not the place for me. You have a parental instinct. We know whether it's only assessments going on. There's nothing given to me as a home program. Always ask for a home program. Very simple set of exercises, not very detailed, but something that can be done for your child on the basis of that evaluation that was done. So, if it's only standardized testing, okay, you get a speech evaluation done, you get a psychoeducational evaluation done, you get an OT evaluation done, you get these medical tests done, you get that done. Wonderful. We need to do all of them. But while these are going on, a program can be requested for, so that you know that you're not just assessing, but you've also started to work on the child. Assessments never stop. What I'm trying to tell you is, as I said, every session is an ongoing assessment. They will never stop. But then whatever that you could make out from that one assessment session, if something could be given to you as a home program, parents are a very important part of the therapy program. Very important. If you are equipped and if you team up with the therapist, the gains that you get are going to be immense. So that's something that I would suggest. I wouldn't just rely on, parents come to me and they, oh, he's a seeker in this area and he's a avoidant in this area and he's whatever. I mean, they tell me things like that, but I believe my sensory system changes every single day. When I wake up in the morning, I'm too dull, drowsy. When I'm in the afternoon, like right now, I'm all alert, all fit, all not fit, I would say, but I'm all alert. I'm all ready to learn. By late evening, I'll again become drowsy. So my system also fluctuates. All of our system fluctuates. Our kids' system fluctuates. Sometimes in a day's time, sometimes in a week's time, sometimes in a month's time. So get the test done, but observe your child. And observation is the strongest thing that you can do. And report to your therapist your observations. So this is a small thing that I wanted to mention. If you're just doing assessment, and nothing taken as a home program, you need to stand up for your child, request for a program, and follow the program at home. When you're following the program at home, you may get stuck. Your child may not cooperate, not comply. Report that to the therapist. The therapist will guide you on how to work. Yes, small tip here, but just only assessment and only assessment and only assessment is not what we want. Sometimes parents are like, is he having ASD, autism spectrum disorder, or is it ADHD, that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or is it ADD, or is it SPD, sensory processing? What is it? And I tell them, let the therapist decide that. Let the therapist do the evaluation. You understand what is it that you want to work on. You know what are your main concerns, right? My child is not sitting, my child is not listening, my child is not giving eye contact. Whatever your concerns are, we need to work on those. That's all. Let me know if you have any queries with respect to whatever that I've spoken. I would be very happy to answer to your queries. Take care.